What you are about to watch is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute any type of advice. Always question the validity of what you see and what you hear. Viewer discretion is advised.
Today's class is going to be special in its own. It's going to be about how to become closer to God, how to speak to God, and what that really means. You see, we as human beings attempt to conceptualize the idea of God, but the limitations of human thinking are unable to get us there. We fail to understand that God is a spirit. He is not a human or a son of human to repent or change his mind. So what is a spirit, and how is it even possible for God to be everywhere? If we look at the original Hebrew, spirit refers to breath. God breathed life into humanity. Also, another obvious clue that people ignore is that when Jesus died on the cross, he commanded his spirit and then gave his last breath in his physical body. That's because the spirit is breath. Through our molecular hydrogen composition that we share with each other, we're one with all organic matter. All organic matter breathes, and therefore it is part of the same spirit. We're all one with God. Even the plants of the earth breathe. That's why carbon dioxide is emitted through respiration. Every living organism shares the need and use of hydrogen. Through our breath, small molecular exchanges of this hydrogen are shared. Even the fishes in the sea need to breathe. The subject of biology teaches how amazing and beautiful life is, and that there is truly a unity in the life we live. This is why God is able to be everywhere, because he is a spirit, and the shared breath output is everywhere. It is needed for life, so God is life. I know it may seem hard to understand and appreciate this fact, but they are here right now at our fingertips. I want to dispel a great misconception, a great lie that you have been told because God is the God of truth and he wants you to know the truth. There is no such thing as living in the past. You have been lied to. You are perpetually living in the present from birth to death. Every moment, every second that is measured in human awareness is right now. What we do is that we think and worry and regret about our past, and we think and worry about potential failures for our future, but we're doing all that thought process in the present. This is a fact whether you like it or not. God and the truth do not need your permission to be, but you do need God's permission and your permission to be. The reason this is so is because you're created in God's image, and there is an information war going on that you may or may not be aware of. You see, what is meant that you are after God's image are two things. Every life is in God's image in the fact that we all came from his breath. We were made closer to God's image in the fact that we have been given his consciousness. No other living organism has the level of consciousness. That's why humanity has been given the power to decide the fate of all life on earth. We as humans have such little comprehension over such great power. This is why injustices happen. This is why people abuse power. This is why suffering exists. Because our decisions, indecisions, and deceit stemming from greed lead to chaos, and anyone who's wrapped in the chaos is placed in a position to struggle and suffer. The encounter of Jacob and the angel of God exposes the answer to a great riddle. This riddle is about the limitation of our human thinking and reaction. Jacob wrestled with the angel as a symbolic representation of a struggle to accept our mission and our deviation from the mission that led us to suffering. The truth is that your purpose, the reason that you are here, is to serve God. But there has been a great lie that we have been told. We have been suggested to think in a self-worshipping format, that everything is about me. We have replaced God with me. This is the greatest sin, and all the anxiety and depression is a reflection of that great sin. We have realized that we're one with God, that we are God's image, that we are not separate from God, and that we are here to serve God. Then suffering becomes irrelevant. Happiness becomes irrelevant because we start fulfilling our divine purpose. Because we no longer care, we're indifferent to the happiness trap, and we simply care about serving God. And by serving God, he will fulfill the desires of your heart. There is no losing ground here, but we're terrible listeners. We need to learn to pray, and then we need to learn to listen to the way that God answers our prayers. Praying is our conversation with God. He always listens and responds. But we are terrible listeners and extremely stubborn. We think we know best and want things in a very specific way. This is why Carlos Castañeda talks about clarity being the second enemy to your soul, where a great portion of the population gets stuck and never make it to the stage of power. Power, by the way, is not good or evil. Power just is. Just like a knife can be used to cook a delicious meal, or it can be used for an evil act. It is the human choice that charges the potential of the energies with good or evil. Less and less people are praying because they don't think that prayer works. But the reality is that prayer does work. But we are such terrible observers because we want things in life to be bent to our wills. Things will not bend to your will. Things will lead you to your destiny if you let them. But they will never bend to your will. Things will actually line up to be granted the desires of your heart, but things will not bend to your will because wanting something to bend to your will is you wanting to replace God with your own self. You are part of God and very capable of God-like qualities, but you're not God. No one replaces God. An act of wanting to bend things to your will is an act of self-worship. If you look at the signs carefully, you will see them. For example, a woman nearing 30 could be a woman who engages in prayer and her spiritual development. She prays for a partner who's there for her and forms a family with her. However, when she meets an older gentleman who loves to fish, works at a mechanic shop that he owns, and is around 5'9", she rejects him because he's not 6'2". He doesn't work as a lawyer or high earner. He makes decent money and is definitely not poor, but he's not the man that she idealizes and claims that she deserves. She sets conditions to the request for prayer, which is the most foolish way of thinking. No one sets conditions on God. And so she goes on for a long time because any man who she meets is not the exact great qualities that she needs. She becomes superficial and narcissistic without realizing that she is telling God, the way you answer my prayers is not good enough. Can you see the way of the hidden sin? Almost no one realizes this because of the amount of self-worship that goes on. So she finally meets a man who looks and earns the level she likes. But little does she know that God did not send that as a response to her prayer. He sent it as a test for her character and to see if she learns anything. She met the man when she was 33, which means that she was so fixed in what she thought she wanted that she was willing to wait. The fact that now she encounters this man only reinforces the idea that she was right and that if she waits, she gets exactly what she wants in life. It turned out that this man did not wine her and dine her, treated her like a princess, but he was rather abusive, a serial cheater, and gaslighted her into thinking that she was the cause of all these issues in the relationship. She was so stuck in her decision that she stuck around for 6 years of her life in that abusive relationship. She had a child with this man who used his power to take the child away, and one of the times that he was getting abusive, she grabbed his pocket knife and cut him. She lost her notion of peace and patience so badly that she faced serious consequences because he contacted the police and she was arrested for domestic violence and menacing. She was fortunate enough to work a deal with the court where she pleaded to the menacing misdemeanor in exchange for them dropping the domestic violence charge, so she could still see her child, and she was told that if she stayed out of trouble for a few years, she could expunge the misdemeanor as long as she did not incur any new charges. She really struggled with life, gained some weight, and sure enough 3 years later she was able to file for that expungement, which took months. So at the age of 42, she stopped going to church, stopped prayer because she no longer believed that it worked. She did not see her second chances to expunge her record and the fact that her domestic charges were dropped as a blessing. Her narcissistic mind kept her in the thought that God had abandoned her rather than in the thought that she had failed the test and learned nothing. The comments on her social media account only reinforced her foolishness, ignorance, and arrogance, which led her farther to dismiss the word of God. Not even a little appreciation for her second chance, but life has further consequences. She realized that her exit in youth was leaving her with fewer choices in men, and that the few men that she was willing to entertain in order to overcome her loneliness quickly dismissed her because they saw the fact that she had a child that she did not have custody and had to pay child support as a red flag. But to tell you the truth, it is a red flag. A man who values love and decency will not vet a woman who they think would not be able to care for this child. I'm sorry to tell you, but your past is a testament of your present, and your present is the direction of your future. On the other hand, the gentleman who worked at the car shop and fancied her years ago when she was in her early 30s is now married with children. He struggled early in life because he cared for his sick mother, worked such long hours in building his shop, and was helping his team make a good living through car repair and maintenance, that there was no time for dating. He spent a bit of time alone after the woman in the story rejected him for not being good enough for her. But overall, he met a young lady at a grocery store who had a beautiful smile and who shared with him that she was caring for her dying mother and worked at the store, didn't leave her with much, but she was thankful to have a job. That story is what had the two of them bond, because he shared with her that his mother had passed almost a year ago, and he cared for her until the end. She told him that such action was admirable and that he must be a good man. He invited her to a coffee because he thought that she deserved a treat, and he would gladly invite her on his dime. The two liked what they learned about each other and started seeing each other. He helped her financially, and although she refused help several times, they engaged because her mother found out about this good man, and she told her that she wanted to see her married before she exited life. When they engaged, he insisted she took his help because now they were more than dating. The resiliency of her mother was admirable because not only did she see her daughter get married, she actually got to meet her first grandchild, a beautiful son that they named after his grandfather who had passed years ago. Her mother smiled and said that the baby had so many of his grandfather's features, and that now she could go in peace. She passed shortly. It was as if she held her last days until the time that she was to meet her first grandchild. This gentleman found the joy of life in his partner because he did not see any conditions as to how this woman had to be. She didn't have to be a tall, voluptuous blonde with a body that would be the envy of everyone, or for her to have a PhD or be a boss lady. He didn't care about any of those things. He just wanted a good woman who would care for his children. He did not care whether she wanted to work, whether she wanted to work on her. She actually ended up working in marketing in his shop, and they expanded into 2 more shops, which brought his earnings to the amount of money that would have impressed the woman I told you earlier who ended up alone, drinking her wine to sleep and struggling at 42 to find a date. But none of that matters because he knew that good woman existed. He was aware that with the amount of narcissism found on social media, it was rare, but he didn't want a successful boss lady, strong or independent. He wanted the rarity of a good woman. He realized how this young lady cared about her mother rather than having a girls' night out or being on Tinder, seeing who's out there. He knew that the kindness of her heart towards her sick mother matched his kindness of caring for his mother until she passed. He was not looking for his equal. He was looking for a kind soul who could love him regardless of him not being 6'2" or making hip-hop artist money. Even though she was just a cashier at the store, she was a smart young lady. She knew school wasn't really for her, so instead she found mentors and tutors who were successful in marketing. She knew it was her husband's money, so she asked for permission, and her humbleness brought her husband to appreciate her idea and intention to the point that he gave her whatever she asked for. His diligence and expertise in auto mechanics and her new acquired marketing skill led him to expand over the years to 2 new locations, and his close colleagues at the first shop were taken over as managers of all 3 locations. He bought her a beautiful home, and when the oldest child started school, they both agreed to put him in private school. If she had been entitled like the first woman, she would not have found a good man. Most incredible is that she was not even looking for a man like the other lady. All she cared about was that her mother was okay and to pay the bills, even though she was struggling to pay those bills. Blessings come the most solid to those who not only know how to talk to God through prayer, but to those who learn to listen. It is incredible to talk about this because, as you know by now, I am Jewish, but I have good friends who are Muslims, as well as many Christian brothers and sisters. In all of our cultures, we accept the will of God no matter what it is. If you look at these cultures, Jews and Muslims are well off many times. We have the understanding that the will of God is first and that we work to fulfill our purpose of serving God. God will fulfill the desire of our hearts. We just have to be willing to receive from God with flexibility, no matter what our blessings look like. We welcome them. When I met my partner during the pandemic, it was in such a unique and a strange way, but I asked God to show me His will, and now we are running a portfolio of businesses, and we are fortunate to love each other in the same unconditional form year after year. I know other brothers and sisters who have achieved the same blessing. This is my invitation for you to, first of all, repent from your self-worshiping actions, then go learn to engage in conversations with God, then to become a great listener to the mercy of God, and then to be willing to receive your blessings no matter what they look like. Be open to the idea that the world does not revolve around you, and that some of the decisions that you are making are not the best decisions for yourself and not the most intelligent choices. Also, realize that not everything that you're told is true. When you walk the world with an open mind that is willing to accept whatever path you think that you are following may be wrong, and you find yourself flexible to the path when you see the signs of a better path, then you will know God, and you will have beat the second enemy of the spirit, which is clarity. The first enemy, and where the majority reside, is fear. The second enemy, which is where many reside, but not the majority, is clarity. This is where you find all your professionals and people constantly getting scammed because the purpose is to become rich. Clarity dispels fear, but it can set you up on a never-ending path of stubbornness, of wanting things to go your way, of settling for nothing less than exactly what you think you want, down to every specification of your delusional requirements. Good luck. As you know, people encourage you to this delusion, which leads to even more mistakes, like choosing a partner because this partner looks how we fantasize about, or find an opportunity that turns out to be a scam just because he promises to build us the wealth that we desire. At the end, we find ourselves broke, with plenty of time wasted, and with the stranded relationships as a result. I know that figuring the paths of life is not easy, but that's what we're here for. The one we recommend the most is Freedom 320, which is the new literacy for success and freedom. This class teaches you how to seize opportunities in a corrupt and challenging world so you can set yourself right. It brings you the truth of the physical world that we so badly need. We also have functional achievement facilitation, which helps you be a guide to others and to yourself in how to set a flexible path towards success. Set flexible goals, collect data, and use those metrics, and take a deep closer look towards what it is that you desire. Of course, we first suggest to accept your purpose, which is to serve God, and then look for the desires of your heart while maintaining your relationship with God as the first priority. We also have the Spiritual Resolution Specialist Program, which is a form of spiritual counseling for people to teach reconciliation to their spiritual struggle, to get closer to getting to know themselves and the connection with God, so they can discard all the lies that hold them back, which for so long have led them to suffering. The other program we have is the 3 levels of tarot reading. It may sound contradictory since Deuteronomy speaks against divination, but we will finally reveal that tarot is not a divination system, but rather an influence system. Tarot can be a very useful motivational and influential system, but not understanding can lead you to either fear it and think that you're forbidden from using it, or can lead you to get scammed by the grifters who understand it and are ready to misrepresent it against you for their financial gain. We also have 3 books: Chronicles of Human Emotions, which teach you the mystery of how emotions actually work as intuitions; Rechanneling Hate and Violence, which focuses on how to rechannel hate and desire for violence as artistic and intellectual practices that set you into success rather than place you in danger or in a path to prison. The Green Form of Supernatural is an incredible set of forum stories that will not only entertain you, but make you question reality. We also have the free book, What You Don't Know Will Hurt You. This book teaches you the hidden dangers and system of oppression that some people are not aware of, but will constantly contribute to their existence and success. Please check out our links in the description. God be with you.